Midge seems to have it all. Her career is on fire. Benjamin is willing to settle down, and she's about to appear on television for the first time. But as the saying goes, be careful of what you wish for. You just may get it. Is she truly ready to settle down with Benjamin? Is she ready to face the pressures and stress of being a celebrity? And are her and Susie ready to face the challenges and dangers of being in the showbiz industry? Tune into this review of Marvelous Miss Maisel Season 2, Episode 9 for the answer to these questions and others. Hello, and welcome to my review of Season 2, Episode 9, Marvelous Miss Maisel, titled Vote for Kennedy, Vote for Kennedy. It received a score of 9.3 on IMDb, and for a change, the highest demographic it scored in was 18 to 29 males with a score of 9.5. It's very surprising. And then the lowest demographic was males 30 to 40 with a score of 8.8. Director and writer of the episode was Daniel Palladino, and then the cinematographer David Mullen. So we've returned to the normal crew after the different directors and writers for the last two episodes. Plot summary courtesy of Amazon Prime. Susie lands Midge her first gig on television, but their victory is short-lived when they realize Midge is being punished for her past. Abe is increasingly unhappy in his dream job at Bell Labs, while Joel continues to drown in work at late nights at Maisel and Roth. And now to discuss the episode. I thought that the opening scene at the stage deli was a little forced and contrived. I could see what Daniel Palladino was trying to go for, and he can manage that really quick zany tone well in the episode where I think it was episode 4, the Weissmans first go to Steiner Mountain Resort and they get into their cabin, and you see characters on different levels of the cabin going through the living room, and they're all having this really sharp, witty dialogue. That scene worked really well. And it seemed like, well, he was trying to advance the plot, obviously. So Daniel Palladino needed to get Midge this gig on TV because that's where the story was going, and he was trying to do it in one quick, fast scene, but it just was so contrived. Oh, have you seen this guy? Okay, go talk to him. No, but he doesn't like her, and she likes him, and it was just a little too much, too unreal for me. The Sophie Lennon storyline's been an example of a really long, slow burn because she first appeared in Season 1, I want to say episode 5, maybe episode 6. And then it's referred to again in Season 2, Episode 2. Well, also in Episode 1, the last two episodes, when Sophie Lennon... Actually, I think... No, it must have been Episode 7 of Season 1. And then in Episode 8 is where they get the consequence of Harry Drake and Sophie Lennon kind of teaming up, getting Midge banned from the clubs. And that carries over to Season 2. So Season 2, Episode 2 is when Susie gets kidnapped, and then we had the long sojourn, the 3-episode sojourn at the Steiner Mountain Resort. So this whole Sophie Lennon plot line has just been kind of in the background, only inched forward in a couple episodes, but it's addressed in full force in this episode. And I like that the way they illustrate that she's a really cheesy comic. And I've said before, I think that Daniel Palladino is a much stronger comedy writer than a drama writer. In fact, I think in some ways he's better at writing the funny lines than his wife is. But his wife is a very good comedy writer, and I think she's more talented at the dramatic scenes. And there are times when I really notice that Daniel can't do the dramatic scenes very well. And I bring that up because put that on your plate, the way that they illustrate that she's a cheesy old comic and She has these hoary old lines that she repeats again and again. I thought that was really well done. I like that. And the actress was really good at selling it. And then I want to address the title, Vote for Kennedy, Vote for Kennedy. I've recently almost finished rewatching all of season 1. I meant to do it much earlier, but I've got caught up with so many other shows that I'm reviewing that I wasn't able to quite address it, but I'm almost done. And one thing that really I noticed was that Midge begins oblivious to politics in the show, but her awareness grows very slowly. I think when she meets, I want to say, no, Jane Jacobs, when she meets, I was about to say Rachel Carlson, environmental figure, but we were talking about Jane Jacobs, who was concerned with the inclusion of commercialism into neighborhoods within the cities. She wrote The Life and Death of the Great Cities. And so there's an episode in season 1 where she's protesting in Central Park, and Midge has no clue about any of it. And that's the beginning. It seems like the beginning of her awareness of political issues. And we get a little bit more of that in season 2, especially when she goes down into Washington. She started to include political behavior, which isn't even really political. It's just jokes about Eisenhower's penis. Whoop, pardon my French. But in this episode, she explicitly says, vote for Kennedy. She takes a political stand. And I'm wondering where that will go, because we got the inclusion of a new character, Shy Baldwin. On Reddit, they feel that maybe he's kind of a Harry Belafonte character, an homage to Harry Belafonte. Harry Belafonte was very involved in the civil rights movement. And because we're at 59, we're not quite there. But I'm not sure how far they're going to advance. Like, will they get to the assassination of Kennedy for one? Are they going to get into civil rights? I could totally see Shy Baldwin being Midge's in point into the whole political realm of civil rights. And the death of Kennedy would be an interesting issue to tackle in the series, but that would be advancing. They'd have to go ahead 4 years to get to that point. Civil rights, I could see. We're almost there. So, yeah, I wonder where they're going to go with that. And speaking of civil rights, Shy Baldwin mentions the comic Mom's Maisel, so I thought it'd be interesting to look up basic information about her, basic bio from Wikipedia. Mom's Maisel, 1894 to 1975, lived a very long time. She was born Loretta Mary Aiken. She was a stand-up comedian who worked the Chitlin circuit and later appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show and the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour. And she had quite the tragic childhood. She was raped a couple times. And the children she had, I assume from the rape, she gave up for adoption. Her mom and dad died within a year of each other. The dad died in a car accident from a drunk driver, I believe. And then the mom died of a heart attack, or it could have been the other way around. But by the time she was 14, she was an orphan. So quite a hard childhood. And then there's reference to the Muscular Dystrophy Association Labor Day Telethon. Let's go to camera A for this. So the Muscular Dystrophy Association Telethon, history of it. The MDAA, Muscular Dystrophy Association, I guess of America, be the last day. Benefit broadcasts. They first originated from a variety of locations in New York City, starting in 1954. And the early broadcasts were local broadcasts, not national. So the earliest telethons would have been only for New York City. So like we see in the show, where the people talk about the Muscular Dystrophy Association telethons. They know the Jerry Lewis telethons because it would have been just a New York City broadcast. Lewis would host several 4-hour shows in New York area and elsewhere in the later 1950s and 1960s. And it wasn't until the mid-1960s they became national. And the reason for that was a union clause that would not allow for their performers, the Actors Association, Actors Union, would not allow their performers to do a national broadcast for a charity, only local. So Jerry Lewis had to arrange for a special exemption for his telethon before they were able to begin broadcasting nationally. It's all very interesting history. When I was a child, I remember watching the MDAA. Very popular in the 70s and the 80s. And in the 90s, too, I was still watching it after I got too busy to follow it. Now, let's discuss the Abe plot in Abe plot in the show. I thought that him losing it lacked tension. So here's where we get some of the weaknesses, I feel, of Daniel Palladino's writing. I've mentioned I feel he's stronger at humor or weaker at drama, but where he's strong at humor is the one-liners. And he is good at crafting jokes that fit the character. However, he's bad at at shaping the scenes dramatically so that they reveal character, but they're not building only for cheap lines. He has the weakness of always seeing the scene in the terms of the cheap line, or at least the comedic line, and so he'll cheaply build the scene towards that line at the sacrifice of character and realism. So when Abe loses the class, for me it had no stakes because I had no involvement with any of those students. They were just one-dimensional characters there for Abe to deliver funny lines from. And if Daniel Palladino had only spent a little more time getting us invested in some of those students, that scene would have landed a little more strongly for me. The scene with Abe and Moish was nice, but again, I didn't feel sad, really sad for Joel. I felt a little confused about why Moish was letting him go. I understood it was because he was concerned about the stress the job was bringing. But I should have really, if Amy Sherman Palladino had written that scene, I probably would have been near tears at the pathos, the fall of Joel. Joel just can't seem to find his place. That really should have been what was brought out, that he felt he had found it, but his father was telling him he really hadn't. And that should have been tragic in a way, but I didn't feel that at all. I did feel some drama from the scene, but I felt that the potential was lost. I liked the moment where Abe and Rose watched the performance of Midge on the telethon. Through the window, they saw a neighbor watching it, and it was at that point that they gained an appreciation for her humor. They were able to see her through the eyes of someone else. And I thought that was kind of a universal emotion that many people can recognize in their own parents, that sometimes their achievements aren't recognized or not appreciated by their parents because to their parents they're still the young child. But when the parents have a chance to see their children's achievements through the eyes of someone else, it's like they're viewing a different person. And so I thought that was a really special moment. And that's all I have for this episode. So I hope life finds you well, and join me again next time when we get the conclusion of Season 2. I'm quite eager to see what's in fate for Midge and Sue and Abe and Rose and Joel. So take care. I hope you'll join me again next time. Bye. Tune in to this episode for my review of The Marvelous Miss Maisel Season 2, Episode 9, to answer these questions. Damn, I almost had it. Damn! Midge seems to have it all. Is she truly ready for a new boyfriend, a new career? And are her and Susie prepared to Midge seems to have it all. A new boyfriend, a new career, and appearing... Is she truly ready to settle down with Benjamin? Is she ready to face the pressures and challenges of being a famous star? And are her and Susie prepared to challenge their... Dang.